Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining me tonight for this episode of Empire Builder, Old School versus New School. Do you ever feel like you're making more money and you just keep spending more and more? It never ends, and you have less at the end of every paycheck or week or month. You know, it's something I think that we all go through depending on what time we are in our career, what stage, and I still feel that way. You know, there's numerous times where I'm sitting there and you start to think things are going great with the business and so forth, but you have to always protect yourself and be mindful of this. You're making more does not mean you need to spend more, right? So someone asked me recently, you know, what I felt kind of set me apart and John apart when we started doing business. And I always go back to that first 3 years of our careers where we delayed, you know, the gratification, learning very quickly what needs and wants and the differences were between the two of those, you know, and being able to put a lot of hours back into the business to get it to a great foundational place financially was really, really important and has gotten us to this point now, you know, 17 years after doing this. But I can't stress enough the difference between learning needs and wants, and everybody has a different definition to them. I am not sitting here and I'm going to tell you my way is the way to do it. There's lots of different opinions. Financial advisors have different opinions. Parents have different opinions. Grandparents, friends, they all have different opinions. But I am going to tell you that if you are trying to get out of the 99% and into the top 1%, we have to think differently on our definition of needs and wants. And in all of my readings and meetings with very successful, experienced, wealthy people, they all mention this sacrifice in the beginning and how they became more successful. And it wasn't easy in the beginning, but how they did it was being disciplined over time. So thank you, everyone, for joining me tonight. I really appreciate your time, as always, your comments, emails, and questions and texts, and the shares. Please share this out. We're always listening, always wanting to talk about new topics that are more pertinent to what you're looking for your answers for. So let us know. If it's something that doesn't fit in my area, I will bring someone on and get you those answers. So I really appreciate that. And we're talking about the old school versus new school. You know, old school being brought up was save 10% first, right? Invest it, whether it's in 401k, IRAs, depending on your stage and so forth. And like I said, I'm not a CPA by any means. I've learned a great deal from numerous successful people, but they're always like, pay yourself first. Well, let's interpret that as they should have been saying, not pay yourself first, invest in your future first, right? So there's a difference between savings and just putting in an account and gaining no interest, and ones that are gaining interest or you're accumulating to invest in different endeavors. So, you know, that 10% was first, 20% was towards debt, which is getting more and more challenging in today's society, between school loans, which are getting higher and higher. You know, in our medical industry, $300,000 to $500,000 is not uncommon for people to be coming out in debt, right? So, and the answer is always, I'm going to make it when I get out. Well, I'm going to tell you, it's not as easy when you get out to make back those kinds of numbers. It's getting more and more challenging in our field. So then you're supposed to live on the other 70%. But when I was younger and I heard these numbers, there's one thing that was left out: the taxes. The government gets their money first. Depending on your tax bracket, whether it's 25, 40, depending on what state you're living in, it could be up to 50. So you basically got to take what you're making and take the taxes first. So I look at my situation and it's, okay, I got to take out 40% at this point and deal with that other 60%. So what do I do with that other 60% is what's going to set me apart in my investments and how I handle things in the future, you know? And I'm not a stock market person where I sit there and try to time things. Yes, we're at an all-time high, and I've seen it happen 3 different times so far. Well, I'll say 2.5, but one was obviously an incredible one, where what goes up will come down. And I was also raised in this old school thought was cash is king, right? So you're supposed to be sitting on cash when the market crashes to reinvest it. So, but you can be sitting on cash for a while, because look how long this bull market has run. And that cash could have been sitting on the sidelines making 0, right? So timing the market, as we all know, is extremely challenging. And I know there's people out there that say that they get it and they can time it, and maybe they can. God bless them. It's not me. I can't do that. So old school was, 10% towards savings or investing in yourself, 20% towards your loans or your debt, and 70% for living. But that has to be after your tax bill comes, because that always comes out first. And I appreciate everybody watching and all the comments and the shares. Please share this out. So we're talking about old school, and I'm going to label old school a little bit towards the middle class, because that's what's happening in our country. The middle class is being kind of stuck in this rut, right? So how do we get to the new school, or the top 1%, where the wealthiest people in the country and in the world are? So, if you start to investigate how they do their breakdown, well, they pay their taxes, and 40%, we're going to say at this point, first, because we all have to do that. The government gets their share first. And there are ways to minimize that, which the top 1% or even the top 10%, they are very tax wise. And the more we can learn about these things and get different opinions, because, we hear something from 1 or 2 people and we think that is the most successful way to do things. Well, is that what that person's doing? Are they investing in certain things? Are they talking about the stock market? Are they talking about index funds? Are they talking about this? Do they do that? Because a lot of the people that I know that are in the financial industry, I'm going to tell you, they don't invest in the normal stuff that a lot of people are being recommended to invest in. So you have to be careful of that. And there's people out there selling real estate, and they're selling real estate and they don't own any real estate. They're talking about investment properties. They don't own an investment property. Those are the people you need to watch out for, okay? So the top 1% takes their tax payment at 40%, we're going to say. And we know that with capital gains and lots of other ways that they could reduce their tax burden. Different topic, different show. Then they take 40% and then they put that away. And I'm not saying that they just save it in an account doing nothing. They are putting that money on the side to invest in preferred opportunities, real estate. Over 50% of the most wealthy people in the world own real estate, whether it's commercial, private, there's different ways, but they're involved in it in over 50%, okay? So we have to think of these things in a different matter. 40% for taxes, 40% for investing, and I say investing for cash flow, dividends, things that are going to produce cash flow. So we talked about old school, cash is king, right? New school, top 1%, it's about cash flow. It's about earning revenue. How many different types of revenue can you have flowing in? I have the medical practice, I have the consulting, I have real estate, so I have 3.5. We have a lab also, and the lab's going to be expanding, coming out soon, so that'll be a 4th. So what I'm trying to do is, and what the most successful people do is, they have an area, they specialize in it, right? And then they have basically accessories off of that. So they're companies that run parallel to join and give you separate inflow, cash flows to you, okay? But they're not all based on one, okay? And that's the most important thing for later on in life, because at some point we all get old and we can't work at the rate we've always been working physically. Mentally we might still be there, but you need these cash flows. You know, in real estate they call it, and I called it mailbox money. You want as much mailbox money as you can in order to keep those flows going so you can enjoy your life, okay, and be able to build generational wealth. So that top 1% then believes that you're supposed to take 20%, that 20% that's left, okay, and you're supposed to live on that. That is a small number to live on, okay? But the experienced, the most wealthy people, okay, have been through this numerous times, so they've started to build their wealth. And as they're making more and more money, they just don't keep investing 10%, right? So this is about how do we get from the old school to the wealthy new school of thought, to get from the 10% to the 40%. So it's when you get that raise, or you get that bonus, and you're like, well, I'm going to just put 10% away again. No, that's when you got to take that opportunity to up the percentage, okay? That's when you're going to start to set yourself apart and start to build and decide how you want to invest it. Do you want to invest it back into your business to expand and make more money on that? Do you want to invest in another business that you know, or with people you trust that are experienced, right? Because you just don't want to take risky bets on different things. Do you want to go into real estate? If you're not a real estate person, that's fine. Maybe you find a person, you partner with them, and you can be a financial partner in there, and they're going to guarantee you a certain percentage. So these are the things that really start to set us apart, and we need to change from that older way of thinking to this newer way of how we can invest and get more income flows to ourselves to make us more successful for later on in life. So that's how we're approaching things. That's how I've been approaching things. And it's a great goal to have if you could get more towards that 40%. Okay? And the best way to do it is just to make more money. Okay? Be more successful. And, you know, I recently saw a stat where I was kind of amazed. 4 out of 5 millionaires in our country. And I'm not saying the goal should be millionaire, because as we all know, millionaire in today's world and the cost of things and where they're going with the taxes, we need to do at least 10 times that, if not more. Okay? But 4 out of 5 millionaires actually work for another company that they do not own. Okay? So that tells you it can be done. It tells you that investing, putting the work in, specializing in one thing sets you apart, okay? And can help you elevate instead of having our hands in lots of different areas that we're not good at, right? I don't believe in being a jack of all trades, okay, and a master of none. I'm more of a, I'm going to get really good at a couple of things, specialize in them, and go all in on those, you know? So try to think about that and what you're doing to take yourself to the next level. And let's start thinking like the top 1% of the world. Let's learn from them. Let's learn from the ones who actually do, not the ones that actually just sit there and type and don't do, okay? So I want you guys to have a great week. I appreciate your time very much. Go build your empire. Have a great one. Thank you.